very, very affectionate to her, seeing that she had taken so much of austerity just because of him and in order to serve him. And therefore, he wanted to award her the greatest benediction. He wanted to give her love of Godhead. He wanted to, and he was willing to give her that benediction. But Devahuti, she very nicely put her request from her heart, which is that she said that previously it had been said that she will get children from Kardama. So she said that I want to have children. So then Kardama understood that Devahuti is wanting to have children and she wants to actually enjoy married life. So therefore, Kardama, out of his mystic power, he created a whole arrangement by which Devahuti could go into the Bindusarovar lake, and then she would be treated very nicely by various maidservants. And she regained her original beauty. And when Devahuti came out of the lake, she was looking so beautiful. In fact, she was looking more beautiful than what she was before. And Kardama had created a flying city to take Devahuti on a long honeymoon. And they, in that flying city, they both enjoyed for many, many years. And they went and parked the city in various places in the 14 planetary systems, in various most enjoyable places in the most 14 planetary systems. So he took her for an interplanetary honeymoon. And now people like this Virgin Galactic or this Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, they are telling that we will take you for space tourism. But the first real space tourism was arranged by Kardama for his wife Devahuti. He took her on an intergalactic space tourism in the process of enjoying with her. And as a result of enjoyment, then they gave birth to very nice, chaste daughters. And those daughters were married to various sages. And then Kardama told her that, okay, now you wanted to have some nice sex life. You wanted to have some children. So you had children. You had nice sex lives. Now I am going. Then Devahuti realized her mistake. She thought, oh, what did I do? Then Devahuti started lamenting her misfortune. And as she was lamenting for her misfortune, Devahuti actually explained some important principles of association and also of life, of human life, of value of human life. And she beseeched her husband, please stay. And then she reminded him that you had actually promised that you'll give me a son who will actually deliver me from this material life. So, and Brahma also had promised the same thing. So she reminded him of that promise, and she was telling him that you should not go. Then, when Kardama saw that Devahuti had given up her illusory mentality to enjoy materialistic happiness, he became very pleased with her. And then he instructed her on the path of devotional service. So Kardama and Devahuti then together performed austerities for many, many years. And then by their union, the Lord was born as Kapiladev. So then, so that is more or less the end of this chapter. Actually, that also takes us to the next chapter to some extent. But in this chapter, it ends with the lamentation of Devahuti. Some of the important points which needs to be noted in this relationship between Kardama and Devahuti is the nature of relationship between husband and wife, because Kardama and Devahuti are husband and wife. So therefore, there's a lot of discussion on the nature of relationship between husband and wife. What is the position of a qualified husband? How he should protect his wife, how he should take care of his wife. All these different things are there. But at the same time, there is also this parallel relationship which can be learned of the spiritual master and the disciple. Because Kardama was actually practically acting as a spiritual master for Devahuti, and Devahuti was a disciple. So there's also this parallel thread of trying to understand the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple. The spiritual master wants to actually give love of Godhead to the disciple. The disciple is also engaged according to the order of the spiritual master in various activities. The disciple might be engaged taking various austerities, taking the order of the spiritual master at heart, serving the spiritual master very nicely and sincerely. But as long as the disciple is hiding or is keeping hope for sense gratification, while he is sincerely serving the spiritual master, ultimately he will get cheated. Ultimately he will get, because the process of Krishna consciousness, by the mercy of the spiritual master, the disciple will get all the material enjoyment or all the enjoyment he has been hoping for. The disciple will get. He may get nice puja labha pratishtha. He may get good recognition. He may become something like a star. He may grow in the corporate ladder of ISKCON and then taking one position to another position, taking some positions in management and big positions here, there, and he may get so many things. Externally, he may get so many things. But the internal nourishment in Krishna consciousness and the ultimate result of that internal nourishment and advancement, which is the faith in the holy name or the transcendental ecstasy provided by the chanting of the holy name, this will completely remain away from the disciple. So therefore, it's very instructive. Devahuti's lamentation is very instructive. Kardama's leaving Devahuti or Kardama wanting to leave Devahuti is also very, very instructive. The spiritual master will give association. The spiritual master will provide everything. The spiritual master will by Krishna's mercy, the disciples' enjoying tendency will get fulfilled. But at one point, the spiritual master will simply go away from the disciple because of the insincere nature of the disciple. The insincere nature means that the disciple is having the hope for material enjoyment. As long as that hope for material enjoyment is lurking within the consciousness of the disciple will not be able to take full advantage of the presence of the spiritual master. So it's this chapter is also a strong warning to the disciple that not only should he serve nicely and should he do the service in a proper manner which are assigned to him, but he should also be sincere in attaining love of Godhead. He should also be sincere. He should simply utilize the service for self-purification, not service as a medium or tool by which he can expect some material favor from the spiritual master. He should not utilize service like that. So if he utilizes service like that, then he will get solidly cheated. He will get solidly cheated by the material master. It's a very, very important and very powerful lesson we actually learn in this chapter. At the same time, we also learn the value of association. That how Devahuti, even though she had this tendency to enjoy, but how by the association of a great personality like Kardama, she was able to give up the tendency to enjoy. And we also learn the mercy of the spiritual master. Sometimes the spiritual master, out of his costless mercy, then he sufficiently chastises the disciple, that the disciple actually comes to senses and understands the importance of the process of Krishna consciousness. rather than being carried away by the peripheral things, while which incidentally happen in the practice of bhakti. Okay.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Prabhuji, you were talking about that how the different, kind of favors, I mean, the opulence and all that, respect and puja repetition, these things also come as one sincerely serves. So now the question remains that only, Prabhuji, that so when we are getting all this, and we are serving also faithfully, spiritual master being submissive. But then how to understand that, that because we may not be, because of spiritual master's presence and being faithful to him, we may not be going into material enjoyment program so much. But still, how to understand that, this is not that I am living the spiritual life for myself, not for the pleasure of spiritual master, but because I am getting some benefits. It is very difficult to understand only, because things become more and more subtle as we go ahead. So if you
Yes,
can,
correct.
yeah.
So therefore, it is said in the scripture that we should be careful. And uh, if you actually read the definition of the different items of knowledge, which is given in Bhagavad Gita by Prabhupada in his purport, Amani Madam Vitvam, Ahimsa Shantirarjavam, Acharya Pasanam Socham, Stairyam Atma Vinikatha, Indriyateshu Vairagyam. All these things, the complete list. Prabhupada gives very illuminating definitions for each and every item. So, one has to carefully study these definitions. And then one has to actually introspect that how these items of knowledge, how much we have taken it to heart, and how much we are actually able to practically implement these items of knowledge. The definitions which Prabhupada has given for these items of knowledge, how we are able to practically implement. And we should also have someone who is like a well-wisher, who is monitoring us, whom we have given whom our life is like an open book. Then he knows what is happening. We do some Gurya Makyati Prachati with them, and then we explain various things to them. They can actually then show some red flag. They can show some warning signals, and they may say that you are getting into some sort of improper consciousness, or suddenly these things are affecting you, and all these things. Because if one constantly watches himself and also constantly allows some mature devotees to watch him, then one can easily detect these discrepancies. Very easily one can detect these discrepancies. One can very easily see that he is being victimized by the illusory energy. It's not very difficult if one is conscious. But if one loses that ability to introspect, or if one does not have strong relationships within Krishna consciousness, then one is into danger for all these things, especially if one has only relationship with peers, and if only has relationship with juniors. It's not very good, because uh, there is a tendency, especially when we are getting carried away by such subtle anarthas, or by such subtleties in Krishna consciousness. There's a tendency not to take the opinion of the peers very seriously. And generally, those who are juniors, they are all so adept in glorifying, because when we come to Krishna consciousness, whether we learn anything or not, we nicely learn that glorifying devotees is what will actually will nourish our Krishna consciousness, and it is not wrong for juniors to do that. They should they are, because we should have nice attitude. We should glorify devotees nicely. We should get their favor. So juniors are always glorified. They are always in some kind of awe, or they are always in some kind of mood of glorification. So therefore, so much association with juniors and so much association with peers, but no association with the seniors who can actually provide some nice critical feedback is very dangerous. We should not have such a situation. We should have some good association of the senior devotees who can monitor us. That is those are some considerations which I would say that one should be careful about.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Prabhuji, we see that like in my own personal life, that what I'm actually facing, one small challenge is that I'm a material teacher as well as a spiritual teacher. Now, when we are encouraging our students, or we are glorifying them, then the other students do have a little this sort of a small envy or whatever you can say. How to balance it? Because for me, I mean, I genuinely definitely praise the work of the devotees or the kids, whatever they have done. But then when you see the other kids, that okay, that they've not liked me praising the other child or the other devotee, then how could I balance this, Prabhuji?
Basically, you could actually talk to the other children who have this kind of tendency. You could talk to them privately, and you could tell them that you're finding such tendency, and sometimes, or whenever there's opportunity, we should also offer some public praise to other children who have, when they have the qualities or when they do something which is praiseworthy. So then it's not like only the devotee children are getting praised and non-devotee children are not getting praised. Then naturally they are envious, and then when it happens, then they become more envious. So therefore, in order to avoid that situation, you can actually create some situations where they are able to do something nicely, and then that also gets some public appreciation. And also by that way you can show that you are impartial in recognizing the devotee kids and non-devotee kids. And when there is chastisement, then the chastisement, if it is some small things, okay. But if it is some serious issue of chastisement, it's better to do the chastisement as far as possible within the rules of the school or whatever it is, because now institutions are also very complicated in Kalida. So within the rules and regulations of the institution, as far as possible, if it is done privately, it is good. Then at least there is some sort of balance.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
Okay.
you.
So let's read. Who's going to read?
Expected to be as good and chaste as Devati or Bhavani. Today in Hindu society, unmarried girls are still taught to worship Lord Shiva with the idea that they may get husbands like him. Lord Shiva is the ideal husband, not in the sense of riches or sense gratification, but because he is the greatest of all devotees, Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu. Shambhu or Lord Shiva is the ideal Vaishnava. He constantly meditates upon Lord Ram and chants Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Shiva has a Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is called the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Unmarried girls worship Lord Shiva so that they can expect a husband who is as good a Vaishnava as he. The girls are not taught to select a husband who is very rich or very opulent for material sense gratification. Rather, if a girl is fortunate enough to get a husband as good as Lord Shiva in devotional service, then her life becomes perfect. The wife is dependent on the husband, and if the husband is a Vaishnava, then naturally she shares the devotional service of the husband because she renders him service. This reciprocation of service and love between husband and wife is the ideal of a householder's life.
That's an important principle of household life. That when the husband is a nice Vaishnava and the wife is having service attitude to serve the Vaishnava, then it becomes an ideal household life. Then there is reciprocation of service and love. So the husband also serves the wife also serves the husband, and then they love each other, and then the life becomes very simple or very fruitful. At the same parallel can also be applied between the spiritual master and the disciple. The disciple is dependent on the spiritual master. When there is a Uttamadikari spiritual master, and when the disciple becomes completely dependent on the spiritual master, and when he serves the spiritual master very sincerely, because many times the word chaste or sati is used in Bhagavatam to describe uh, great devotees like Kunti Maharani or Parikshit Maharaj, because they are chaste to Krishna. Their chastity is to Krishna. So same way, just like a chaste woman serves her husband very nicely, when the disciple serves the spiritual master very nicely, then the disciple uh, gets gets fully benefited. So the same parallel of the of the husband and wife can be applied between the spiritual master and disciple also. And this is a very important verse where it actually describes the nature of the relationship. Vishrembena atma sauchena gauravena damena cha shushushaya sauhridena vacha madraya cha bohu. Very beautiful shloka which actually describes the relationship between the nature of relationship between husband and wife. And the same way, the nature of relationship the disciple should have with the spiritual master. So it says, "O Vidura, Dehuti served her husband with intimacy and great respect, with control of senses, with love and with sweet words." This is the way the disciple is supposed to serve the spiritual master also. The disciple should serve the spiritual master with great intimacy, because the spiritual master actually takes the disciple to Krishna, to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So this is the most intimate relationship of the soul, because in this relationship, the spiritual master introduces Krishna to the disciple, Srimati Radharani to the disciple. So therefore, in the whole of creation, in the spiritual creation and the material creation, the most intimate relationship between is the relationship between the disciple and the spiritual master. At the same time, the disciple should serve the spiritual master with great respect, because the spiritual master deserves that respect. He should be treated as Sri Hari. We all sing Sakshat Ritvena, Samasta Shastre, Uttastata Bhavite Vasadhi, Hindu Prabhurya, Priyayo Tasya Vande, Guru Sri Charanaravindam. So same way, in the service of the spiritual master, the disciple should be fully controlled of the senses. The disciple should not serve the spiritual master simply for sense gratification. He should be fully controlled of the senses. The disciple should not become envious of the spiritual master. The disciple should not consider the spiritual master, he should not start aspiring for the facilities or for the things which actually comes in the way of the spiritual master. Just like a wife should not be envious of the husband, that when the husband is glorified, that is the wife's glory. So the wife should not become envious of the husband. अरे सब तुमको ग्लोरीफाई करता है, हमको कोई ग्लोरीफाई नहीं करता है, सब तुमको ही देखता है, तुमको ही मानता है, हम तो ऐसा बहुत insignificant बन गया. Wife should not think like that, because when the wife is glorified, the husband is glorified. So therefore, the wife should actually control her senses and serve the husband. Same way, the spiritual master should be served with love and with sweet words. this is also same with the wife, that the husband should be served with love and with sweet words. It's very important sloka, especially Prabhupada gives commentary on the two words, which is Vishrambena and Gauravena. And it's also explained in necrotic worship that the service to the spiritual master should be done with intimacy. One should intimately serve the spiritual master. Okay, please read.
Here, two words are very significant. Devahuti served her husband in two ways, Vishrambhena and Gauravena. These are two important processes in serving the husband or the personality of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishrambhena means with intimacy and Gauravena means with great reverence. The husband is a very intimate friend. Therefore, the wife must render service just like an intimate friend, and at the same time she must understand that the husband is superior in position and thus she must offer him all respect. A man's psychology and woman's psychology are different. As constituted by bodily frame, a man always wants to be superior to his wife, and woman, as bodily constituted, is naturally inferior to her husband. Thus, the natural instinct is that husband wants to post himself as a superior to the wife, and this must be observed. Even if there is some wrong on the part of the husband, the wife must tolerate it, and thus there will be no misunderstanding between husband and wife. Vishrambhena means with intimacy, but it must not be familiarity that breeds contempt. According to Vedic civilization, a wife cannot call her husband by name. In the present civilization, the wife calls her husband by name, but in Hindu civilization, she does not. Thus, the inferiority and superiority complexes are recognized. Damenacha, a wife has to learn to control herself even if there is misunderstanding. Suhudrena Vacha Madhuraya means always desiring good for the husband and speaking to him with sweet words. A person becomes agitated by so many material contacts in outside world. Therefore, in his home life, he must be treated by his wife with sweet words.
Yeah, Chanakya Pandit says that if the wife doesn't speak sweetly, then the husband should not stay with in such a family situation. Anyway, so here certain points are also very important when we understand the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple. And one of the important points which Prabhupada makes here is also applicable there. Vishrambena means with intimacy, but it should not be familiarity breeds that familiarity breeds contact. So that's very important in the also in the relationship of the spiritual master. Sometimes there is opportunity to very intimately relate with the spiritual master. So if there is intimate, then when there is such intimate opportunity to relate with the spiritual master, then that familiarity should never come in the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple. That sometimes the spiritual master may actually joke with the disciple, or sometimes the spiritual master may speak in a very intimate way with the disciple. But the disciple should always deal with the spiritual master in a very respectful manner. We should decide that respect should be kept. That one should not become so familiar with the spiritual master that one does the offense of treating the spiritual master like an ordinary person. One should not start thinking, "Arey, spiritual master to humko bahut acha malum hai. Whatever I say, my spiritual master he will listen." A disciple should not dare to advise the spiritual master. One should not think, "Oh, I'm so good with my spiritual master. He listens to whatever I say." Not think. Very very difficult, especially if one has opportunity to serve the spiritual master very closely, either Vapu or if one has opportunity to serve the body of the spiritual master very closely, one should never become familiar. It is one of the greatest pitfalls in our relationship with the spiritual master, that the disciple becomes very familiar.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, the last
Are we
statement
going
was
through some other conversation? Suddenly seem to be going through some other conversation. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Prabhuji, the last statement was not clear. Can you please repeat once that one should never be while serving the spiritual master very
Wow.
closely?
One should never become familiar, or one should never treat the spiritual master as an ordinary person. One should never do that mistake. That, oh, spiritual master, I know very well. Not think like that. Okay. Please read.
Although a wife may be equal to her husband in advancement in spiritual consciousness, she should not be vainly proud. Sometimes it happens that the wife comes from a very rich family, as did Devahuti, the, the daughter of Emperor Swayambhuman. She could have been very proud of her parentage, but that is forbidden. The wife should not be proud of her parental position. She must always be submissive to the husband and must give up all vanity. As soon as the wife becomes proud of her parentage, her pride creates great misunderstanding between the husband and wife, and their nuptial life is ruined. The most sinful activity for a wife is to accept another husband or another lover. If the father is in debt, he is considered to be an enemy. If the mother has selected another husband in the presence of her grown-up children, she is considered to be an enemy. If a wife does not live well with her husband but deals very roughly, then she is an enemy. And if a son is a fool, he is also an enemy. In family life, father, mother, wife and children are assets. But if the wife or mother accepts another husband in the presence of her husband or son, then according to Vedic civilization, she is considered an enemy. A chaste and faithful woman must not practice adultery. That's a greatly sinful act.
So, Prabhupada, of course, um, elaborately explains that a woman should not accept another husband. Of course, the modern world, even within Islam, these things are not fully understood. Sometimes men and women are so casual about their spiritual life that in the name of spiritual life, they do these things. It's all very funny how these things happen, in spite of Prabhupada making these things very, very clear. Therefore, Prabhupada himself said Varnashrama is very important. Then they don't get to do such stupid things, because Varnashrama naturally controls what can be done and what cannot be done. And here also, since we are discussing about the parallel between the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple, for a disciple to be proud of his previous position, of his material achievements, is very, very detrimental in his surrender to the spiritual master. A disciple might come from big family, or a disciple might come from very learned. He might be academically very learned and advanced, or a disciple might have a big position. All these things the disciple might have. But if he brings those tendencies in his relationship with the spiritual master, then that is completely detrimental to his advancement in spiritual life. Just like here, Prabhupada is saying that husband is the whole natural life gets ruined. Same way, the whole spiritual life of the disciple gets ruined when he becomes proud of his material situation, Janma, Aishwarya, Shuddha, or Shri. when he becomes proud of his material situation, and when he brings that pride in the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple, then the whole relationship gets ruined. He will be very fortunate if the spiritual master sufficiently chastises him and purifies his consciousness. And if he is accepting that chastisement very nicely and humbly, then he will be very fortunate. He will be very, very fortunate. But if the disciple thinks that, oh, I have power, uh, I have uh, I have influence, I have this, I have that, so therefore I am supposed to be special for my spiritual master. So whenever the spiritual master is there, I have automatically the first right to stand nearest to the spiritual master and take photograph, and then I should put it in the Facebook just to show, see how close I am to my spiritual master, and how close my spiritual master is to me. We should not have that kind of mentality. The most detrimental mentality in our relationship. It also spoils the relationship with the other disciples who are his god brothers or god cousins, and it creates um, such an atmosphere. It's very, very difficult, where spiritual life becomes very difficult for this person who has this kind of mentality. So I saw some question on the chat. What is that? The husband is having illicit affair with another woman. Is he not in children? Is he the chaste wife who serves as husband having illicit affair? In general, uh, it is understood that a man could marry more than one woman. And if he is having affair with another woman, especially if he is having affair with another married woman, then that is never tolerated in Vedic system. Most of the time, chaste women are glorified, even though they served husband who was having relations with another woman. If you carefully observe, those women are society girls or prostitutes, because then they are a class of women who are generally available, and they were identified as class of women generally available for lusty men to fulfill their desires. But you will never find that a woman tolerating her husband going and having a relationship with another man's wife. In Vedic system, that was never tolerated. It was never tolerated. Sometimes women are glorified because they wanted to because they tolerated the husband who were going to prostitutes and all those things. That chastity was, they were glorified as chaste. But those men who did this, they were not glorified as some great men, some Mahatmas or things like that. And they were understood to be lusty men who are rascals. But in specific case where Chanakya Pandit is saying that this woman who accepts another man in presence of her son is an enemy, because then she becomes the cause of the man becoming lusty, her son, the man, becoming lusty and spoiling chaste woman, and she also becomes the cause of her daughters becoming lusty and becoming prostitutes. So this way she destroys generations when she does it. So that's the reason why it is specifically stated that when a woman does this kind of things, she is considered as enemy. Because when a woman does this, she actually messes up the consciousness of her children. And when she completely messes up the consciousness of her children and makes them lusty, that has a profound impact in the society at large. One woman, we may say that, oh, this is only one woman, she's just having some illicit sex. What is the problem? No, it's a problem, because that will have a profound impact on the society, because it will have a profound impact on how her son will deal with other women. He will simply see other women also as objects of enjoyment, who can be easily seduced and enjoyed, irrespective of their position. He will simply see them like that, because he has seen his own mother being like that. He will think that, oh, women are simply after enjoyment, and if I have to enjoy some woman, I just need to do whatever I need to do, just seduce her. So then he will become a parasite of the society. Same way, the daughter who sees her mother behaving like that, she will think that it is all right to be a prostitute. It's all right if you have multiple men in your life. It's all right if you are like that. And then when she does that, then she spoils a whole set of people. So therefore, it's very dangerous when a woman actually uh, does this. When a man does this, when the woman is chaste, then at least there is this strong example of the woman's chastity, which establishes what is right and what is wrong. Then there's no confusion. The man is seen as a lusty man who is doing something wrong, but the woman is seen as someone who is actually behaving, establishing what is proper behavior. So therefore, there is a strong example of what is right and what is wrong. There's something going on. What is this? This Rishabhavani Prabhu okay, went into. This is the beauty of online. This mute and as if the word doesn't exist.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Prabhuji, you shared on the principle that when a woman goes wrong, then that causes generations to be spoiled. I didn't catch the point how a man going wrong doesn't cause generations to be spoiled. Because even
the
a
woman is still there as a strong example.
yeah, but then son can see
You know, the wife is.
the son can see the father as an example also. Just like daughter can see the mother.
Yeah, but no. The mother is a bigger influence on the children, and the son actually is meant to protect the mother. He has natural affection to her. He actually sees what kind of tribulation the mother goes through because of the activity of her father. So rather he would end up learning what is right and what is wrong than to just be blindly follow what the father is doing. I have seen practical examples of this. I know one of our relatives' family. The man was very irresponsible. He was a big drunkard, and he just used to he never used to earn any money. He just spoiled. Whenever he lived, he simply lived for sense gratification, drinking and running behind women and that and this, etc. And the mother, she is daughter of two sons, and she actually struggled a lot to bring up her children. And she did so many things. She to earn money, to make her son study, and she did so much to actually bring up the children. And in the end, when the father, because of his various illicit activities, his complete health went down, and he became completely sick. He also died at a very young age because of his various activities. But when his health was completely spoiled and when he was bedridden, then the wife also served him very nicely. It's not that she was thinking that, okay, this fellow, he made my life miserable. So now he's become sick. So I will throw him out. So she actually served him very nicely. And of course, he passed away. But the boys saw this good example of their mother. And now the boys are grown up. They are so responsible. They are taking care of their mother nicely. They have gone for good jobs. They have taken wives. They are having children, and they are like properly living their material life. Of course, they are not devotees, but they are properly living their material life. So it's not that they simply took the path of their father. They took the path of their mother because they actually saw how their mother was suffering. So therefore, that became a very important topic, a very important thing. It's a practical example. I have seen them growing up in front of my own.
So if the wife
Prabhuji, the prince.
if the wife
Yes.
misbehaves, then the husband will also have some situation which can also teach the sons and daughters a lesson.
Very, very difficult, very difficult, very difficult. Because the influence of the child on the mother is profound, mainly because she is cooking and she is making them eat the same food she is cooking. And also, the children have very strong relationship with the mother, and the mother always does something to put that man in bad light because she wants to justify her activities of illicit sex. So therefore, she actually puts that man, she actually puts that proper man in very bad light. She says that your father is like this, your father is like that. Without reason, she actually creates enmity between the father and the children. This also I have seen. Even in same or devotee community itself, I have seen these things happen. The mother actually creating enmity between the father and children simply because she wants to run behind another man. And it takes a long time for the children to realize what damage their mother has done to them. So it's not so easy. The father will not be able to influence the children as much as the mother is able to influence the children. It's not so easy. It's not so easy.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one
And
more.
also, when the mother engages in such activities, she tries to hide those activities because normally she knows that these activities are not correct. And the more she tries to hide these activities, the more she becomes duplicitous in her dealings. And the duplicity in her dealings is very quickly it catches on the children. Because the children also then learn duplicitous behavior. And sometimes she herself teaches duplicitous behavior to the children because she wants to hide her various illicit activities. Very, very dangerous kind of situation.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one more thing. In the what Srila Prabhupada is saying are like very important Shastric principles and Varnashram maintained like this. At the same time, wanted to know in the modern situation, already Prabhupada said that a wife should not be proud of her past knowledge, family lineage and all. However, now, mostly although I am sitting as a brahmachari here, but mostly when I see husband-wife relation, they are more like friends like Western world. And if they are decent friends, they are basically cooperative and they do family duties also. So is that okay, or this is what we should be prescribing to them? Because sometimes it becomes very artificial to make that person actually feel this way, and the wife to feel that dharma like this and all. It's like they don't have, they take name of the husband also. So now what should I say about serving the husband menially and all that? It is like if I am dealing with my own family, my sister is working, my brother-in-law is working, so it's not so easy to prescribe such dharmas only, even if they ask questions on this.
If they ask question, you should tell them answer. At least that much you should do. If they are asking you a question, and then if they want to know, why you not tell them? That is too much actually. If they ask question, you should tell them that this is right, this is correct, this is fact, this is what is dharma and things like that. Then after that, let them say, oh, it is all not practical, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. But they have asked you a question, so it is your duty to tell what is right and what is wrong, especially your brahmachari, your preacher, you should be unafraid of telling these things. You should simply tell what is right and what is wrong. Then if they don't take you seriously, or it looks like they don't take you seriously, or they think that, oh, this is not okay, but at some point it will hit them. And at some point they will think about it. So this is one aspect of when they ask you what you should do. I generally, people when they come to me and ask me, I straight away tell them that this is right and this is wrong. Okay, you came and asked me, you don't like it is your problem, not my problem. But we should give that opinion in a very nice way. We should give it with sometimes with mixed with humor. Sometimes you have to package. You may have to package it, but you should never deny truth to them. That is unfair. This is really unfair to deny truth to them. You may want to package it nicely. You may want to tell it in a way that it is least hurting or whatever it is. We should always tell them the truth. You should never refrain from that. This is your opportunity to create a. I was telling the Bhakti Vaibhav class. What is preaching? Preaching means you should disturb those who are peaceful, and you should actually give. You should calm down people who are disturbed. This is called preaching. So those who are peaceful with their material life, you should go and disturb them. And the way to disturb them is when they come to you and when they are asking for disturbance, you should simply disturb them. They are coming and telling you, bel, mujhe maar. What is stopping you from going and hitting them? Just do it. And then let all hell or heaven break loose. Then after that we can deal with it. It's not a problem. So that's one part. The second part is that what you are telling is correct. Because in the Kali Yuga, man is doing woman's duty and woman is doing man's duty. Therefore, there is no respect between man and woman. This is the problem. That if a man is able to take responsibility for the woman, then woman will naturally respect the man. But that doesn't mean that husband and wife will not be friendly. My wife is very friendly with me. That doesn't mean that she doesn't respect me. But the point is that the husband has to be qualified. If the husband is not qualified, then the wife will find it very, very difficult to respect such unqualified husband. Unless she is very naturally trained by her mother that you should be like this, you should, which was like even 50 years before, 40 years before, that was a stage. It was not like an unusual thing. Because the girls were trained by their mothers, they were not trained by social media, they were trained by their mothers. So because they were trained by their mothers, and the mothers were trained by their mothers, so then that like evam parampara praptam, that system was there of naturally respecting the husband, not taking his name, etc., etc. Nowadays, boys and girls are simply trained by social media. So therefore, you can only expect respectless relationships between them. That is also because the boys are not responsible. They are also irresponsible. They think that wife should earn and they should live off their wife's earning, and they think that that is good for them. So therefore, and for a woman to earn and also to take care of the household is like double torture for her. And the man who is supposed to protect her, if he is giving her double torture, then why she will respect that man? For what reason? What reason on earth is there to respect such a man who is actually giving her double torture instead of protecting her? So these things are not, these are not unnatural. That in Kali Yuga, the women are not so respectful of their husbands. These are not unnatural. Second is that the husband should be like a proper spiritual authority. The wife should be able to look up to the husband in order to understand Krishna consciousness. And sometimes even that is also not the case. Both of them are either in the same level, or sometimes the wife is slightly better than the husband. So then the husband is looking up to the wife. So instead of husband being the Siksha Guru, the wife is the Siksha Guru. Okay, anybody can be, that's not a problem. But the thing is that naturally, and if there is no culture, if there is culture, then even though the wife is advanced, she will actually behave in a certain way that the husband feels that he is superior. That's a culture. But in Kali Yuga, culture is also not there. We don't so much understand the connection of culture and Krishna consciousness. So therefore, these things are there. These things are there. Therefore, they have to be trained. Boys and girls have to be trained. They should be trained about what is right and what is wrong, and what Prabhupada is saying. All these things, they should be trained. And when they are trained, and when they accept it, then they will be much better. The situation will be much better. A lot of training required.
Yes,
but since the training is not there, then all these confusions happen.
Yes, Prabhuji, and at a proactive level, as what can be done and should be done in the, like as you said, training and culture. So many things actually, when we reflect on the Vedic culture, when we reflect on some previous generations, it is very clear what you are sharing should be done. and it creates a very beautiful society. Now, what we actually come to deal with usually is the consequence of many layers of problems which have already been taken up. Like, say, someone is working woman, they're not respectful.
Correct, correct.
After that, they show up one question to us, as if this question has to be solved in isolation from all that big thing which has gone on. So, how can we solve this problem without that whole thing? So, what should we answer? That non-ideal situation is just not reconcilable with what we are studying in the purports of Prabhupada.
No, the point is that, you know, there is in Tamil we have a nice saying, okay, that even by the movement of an ant, a rock can be it can be reduced to size, or it can be sliced simply by the movement of an ant. As long as the ant has moved, long enough, it can actually make an impression on the rock. So like that, we should start. If they are showing interest in Krishna consciousness, whatever aspect they are showing interest in Krishna consciousness, we should start with. It's not that when they come to us with a problem, the first thing we start saying is that, oh, you are not doing like this, now you should leave your job immediately. Tomorrow onwards, you start calling your husband as Prananatha, and then every day morning you fall at the feet of the husband, and every day evening you fall at the feet of the husband. We don't start there. We simply, wherever they are, we simply tell them, okay, you chant Hare Krishna. Whatever situation you are in, you are calling your husband by name, you are becoming you are so lovable husband, so you started calling him as your pet dog, whatever it is, whatever is your situation, chant Hare Krishna. This is where you start. This is the starting point. That you chant Hare Krishna, you take prasadam, you try to read Bhagavad Gita, you try to read Bhagavatam. Then we should allow the process of Krishna consciousness to actually bring them out of the madness of material existence. So when the process of Krishna consciousness gradually brings them out of the madness of material existence, then they are more conducive to listen to guidance. They are more conducive to listen to what Prabhupada is saying, how to make their own life simple, how to make their own life Krishna conscious. And that is the time we can start hammering them with what they should do and what they should not do. And then they are actually really looking for that hammering at that time, because there is already a relationship. Then they are willing to listen, and then they are willing to take that hammering because they understand that you don't want anything from them. You have a relationship in which they are only getting benefited. You are not getting benefited personally. So all these things, when they understand, then you can start telling them that what they should do and what they should not do. Of course, it requires a lot of patience to deal with such situations, sometimes years to deal with such situations. But it is not impossible. At some point, they will come and ask you what is right and what is wrong. And at that point, if you actually tell them that this is correct, this is wrong, you leave your job, you simply take care of the home, all these things, if you tell them, then they will be able to accept it also. I have seen many times, I have dealt with many grahasthas. At some point when they are ready to accept, when you tell them these things, they actually start realizing that this is correct. And then they understand much, because their interest, they themselves are interested in progressing in Krishna consciousness, and they themselves see that the complicated life they are living is not allowing them to progress in Krishna consciousness. So that's what you should try to bring them in the beginning. You should simply try to bring them to the point where they become interested in taking up and in progressing in Krishna consciousness. That's what you should focus on. You should not focus on what job you are doing, whether you are Vishrambena, Gauravena, all these things. You should simply focus on, you're not this body and that and this, and try to bring them to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Then you can introduce culture, because it's an important point. The culture is an important point. And naturally, when they read Prabhupada's purports, when they come to this kind of statements in Prabhupada's purports, either they will come up with some big rebellious attitude, saying that, oh, what Prabhupada is saying is improper, it's not correct, this will not work in this material world, in this time and age, it will not work, this is impractical. Something with some rebellious attitude they will come, or they will come with the attitude of asking for genuine clarification. Both are okay because both of them elicit a discussion. And then when the discussion happens, then according to whatever is their ability to take up or digest the truth, to that ability, if you keep pushing them, then they will be able to understand and progress. It's a process which takes time and patience. There's no shortcut to these things.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Okay, please read.
The wife is expected.
Who's reading?
The wife is expected to be of the same category as the husband. She must be prepared to follow the principles of the husband, and then there will be happy life. The wife must see the tendencies of the husband and must be prepared to follow him. The word saman
Samanuvrata.
Samanuvrata indicates that it is the duty of a wife to adopt the special circumstances in which the husband is situated. Of course, if the husband is as great as Karda Muni, then a very good result accrues from following him. But even if the husband is not a great devotee like Karda Muni, it is the wife's duty to adapt herself according to the mentality. That makes married life very happy.
So again, this principle also applies to the spiritual master and the disciple. That the disciple should accept the vows of the spiritual master, and the disciple should actually be in the same category of the spiritual master. Means that whatever is the aim of the spiritual master, the same aim the disciple should also accept. That in our case, when in ISKCON, the spiritual masters have the aim of serving Srila Prabhupada. They have the aim of developing love of Godhead. The same aims the disciple should also accept. He should not have some ulterior motive in serving the spiritual master, and he should actually accept the vows of his spiritual master as his own duty, because he is promising at the time of initiation that I will assist you in your service to Srila Prabhupada. So that mentality that the disciple should carry, that the duty of the purpose of my life is to assist my spiritual master in his service to his spiritual master. The same thing. The disciple should have clarity in this. They should understand that this is how I should be. Then the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple is most beneficial for the disciple. When the disciple is having such a relationship, when he has no ulterior motives in his relationship with the spiritual master, when he completely accepts the vows of the spiritual master as the aim of his life, and when he dedicates himself to serve the vows of his spiritual master, then it causes great benefit to the disciple. It causes great benefit to the disciple. Okay, we should have a break. It's 11:30. We started at 10 o'clock. It's already one and a half hours. We are gone. Please take a 5 minutes break, and then after 5 minutes, we'll start again. It's 11:35. So 11:40 we will be assembled. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. So, Kardama actually saw the situation of Devahuti. He saw how she was so intent in actually serving him, taking care of him, and therefore she had actually gone through a lot of austerity for his sake. Therefore, out of great compassion, Kardama spoke. He said, "O respectful daughter of Swayambhuva, today I am very much pleased with you for the great devotion and excellent loving service. Since the body is so dear to embodied beings, I am astonished that you have neglected your own body to the use on my behalf." Okay, so he was quite moved by her service. That Kardama genuinely felt appreciation for her, and then he spoke to her very kind words. Okay, so please read.
It is indicated here that one's body is very dear, yet Devahuti was so faithful to her husband that not only did she serve him with great devotion, service, and respect, but she did not even care for her own health. That is called selfless service. It is the duty of a faithful and chaste wife to help her husband in every respect, especially when the husband is engaged in Krishna consciousness. In this case, the husband also amply awarded the wife. This is not to be expected by a woman who is the wife of an ordinary person.
Yeah. So they cannot expect some flying castle which Kardama was able to produce for his wife naturally. But so he was very happy. He said, "I achieved the blessings of the Lord in discharging my own religious duty of austerity, meditation, and Krishna consciousness. Although you have not experienced these achievements, which are free from fear and lamentation, I shall offer them to you because you're engaged in my service. Just now look at them. I am giving you the transcendental vision to see how nice they are." So, even though the disciple is not qualified, but the spiritual master is quite competent to award his mercy to the disciple because the disciple simply pleases the spiritual master by sincere service. So that becomes the good fortune of the disciple. So here also the same thing. Clearly Kardama says that I am giving you something which is free from fear and lamentation, which is the transcendental vision, which is actually free from fear and lamentation. So the Kardama is competent of bestowing it to Devahuti, and Devahuti had pleased Kardama so that he felt that on his own he wanted to award such transcendental gift to Devahuti. Okay, please read.
What are the graces of the Lord? It is stated here that the graces of the Lord are abhaya, free from fearfulness. When situated in the transcendental position, one is freed from the two kinds of material diseases, hankering and lamentation. Prabodhananda Saraswati said that if one achieves the grace of Lord Chaitanya, he becomes so great that he does not care a fig even for the demigods. He thinks of monism as hellish, and for him the perfection of controlling the senses is as easy as anything. Heavenly pleasures become to him no more than stories. Actually, there is no comparison between material happiness and transcendental happiness. By the grace of Kardamuni, Devahuti experienced actual realization simply by serving.
So this could also be our situation, that if we simply serve, and here Prabhupada actually brings up this parallel very nicely. Okay, please read.
For spiritual achievement, the easiest path is to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and to serve him with heart and soul. That is the secret of success.
Yeah, so here Prabhupada brings up this parallel which is there between the bona fide spiritual master and the disciple. Okay.
By serving her devotee husband, Kardamuni, Devahuti shared in his achievements. Similarly, a sincere disciple, simply by serving a bona fide spiritual master, can achieve all the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master simultaneously.
Yeah. So this is what we are analyzing uh, in this thread or in this event, set of events. There's a parallel analysis of the relationship between husband and wife, and also the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple. So this is what we are continuously analyzing. We are seeing the existence of these parallel threads and how it is going. So Kardama also instructed her. He said, what is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? All material enjoyments are subject to annihilation simply by the movement of eyebrows of Lord Vishnu. Your principles of devotion to your husband you have achieved, and you can enjoy the transcendental gifts rarely attained by a person who are proud of aristocracy and material possession. He actually instructed her, knowing her heart, knowing that she was not ready, knowing that she had not achieved the Krishna conscious maturity as a responsible husband, he instructed her that don't throw it away. That I am giving you something which is very valuable. Simply don't throw it away. Accept it. This is good for you. Don't look for material enjoyment. It is going to cause you fear. It is going to cause you lamentation. He actually explained everything to her. He gave her proper instruction. Okay, please read.
Although Devahuti was a princess coming from a very great royal family, fortunately she was under the supervision of her great husband, Kardamuni, who offered her the best gift which can be bestowed in human life, the grace of the Lord, or love of God. Love of God is not an ordinary commodity. One word used in this verse, Nija Dharma Dohan, is very significant. Devahuti, as the wife of Kardamuni, achieved an invaluable gift from her husband because she was very faithful to him. For a woman, the first principle of religion is to be faithful to her husband. If fortunately the husband is a great personality, then the combination is perfect and the lives of both the wife and the husband are at once fulfilled. Prabhuji, one question.
Yes, yes.
In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that the wife should adapt to the mentality of the husband. And here in the previous purport also, Prabhupada is echoing the same thing. Now the question is, if the husband is materialistic and wife is trying to be devotee, I have seen the case of my own sister. So now when she is trying to become devotee, husband thinks is a threat to their married life. So if she is trying to increase her practice, then the married life is getting, some upheavals are coming in the married life. So how should the situation be handled? Because if the husband is not very keen in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, see, there are two situations. There are two approaches which I have commonly seen in this kind of situation. One kind of approach, what I have seen in this situation is that the wife is wanting to be Krishna conscious, the husband is not Krishna conscious. The wife actually starts neglecting the husband because he is not a devotee. So therefore, the wife starts neglecting the husband, or the wife starts sometimes even berating the husband or chastising the husband and things like that. So then naturally the husband becomes more and more averse to the situation. Even without the wife doing all these things, because the husband thinks that I am the controller, the wife belongs to me. When the wife takes up the Krishna consciousness, then he always feels threatened because she is actually going out of his control. She is accepting clearly someone else as authority, and she is going to frame what is important and what is not important in her life based on that authority, be it Prabhupada or be it the Siksha Guru or be it the spiritual master. So naturally the husband feels that his authority is threatened, even without the wife neglecting him, even without the wife doing anything to him. Naturally he feels that his authority is threatened. So therefore, he becomes inimical of her practice of Krishna consciousness, and all whatever she does, he tries to criticize her or whatever. It keeps happening, which is quite natural with a materialistic person. So, if the wife takes the approach of increasing this alienation, then generally the problem simply becomes bigger and bigger, and it causes frustration to the wife, and also it causes frustration to the husband, also it causes frustration to the children. So the whole situation becomes a little difficult. But there's also sometimes other approaches taken where the wife actually takes some time to show that she respects the husband. And then being in Krishna consciousness means that she is going to take care of her husband better. She is going to take care of her family better. If she is able to show this, at least in the beginning, till things settle down properly and misconceptions are removed, then it will go a long way in repairing such a relationship between the husband and wife. If the husband is a reasonably good person, if the husband is unreasonable, which is normally not the case with about 90%, only it is just that they're all materialistic. So therefore, when their materialistic life is challenged, they become disturbed. Unless he's a kind of a rascal, or he's forcing the wife to do some abominable things like, okay, now you have to, I'm going to open your mouth and put chicken biryani inside, something like that, some forcible abusive kind of situation is there. If that is not there, if the general relationship between husband and wife, which was based on sense gratification, is decent, and if the husband's problem is only due to the disturbance which he is facing right now, thinking that, oh, I'm going to lose all my sense gratification, I'm going to lose all the facility which is being offered by my wife, then if those concerns can be addressed nicely, then still things can work out better between the husband and wife. It takes some time for the wife to give that confidence to the husband. There will always be some initial period of disturbance, but if the wife is intelligent, and if she applies herself nicely in taking care of the husband, then sometimes these problems can be solved. I'm not saying that 100% it can be solved, but about 70-80% these initial problems can be solved. And also, even the husband, even if he doesn't become a full-fledged devotee, he can actually become quite sympathetic to the cause of his wife. I have seen practical cases happening like that also. But then there are, when you take specific cases, then there are many details which are very specific to a case. Then we have to go through all those details and then see specifically what can be done and what cannot be done, and how far, what is the nature of the previous relationship, and how far it is having bearing in their present condition. These things have to be analyzed in little bit in detail. These things have to be analyzed. But of course, it is a challenge. It's a challenge. So then the challenge has to be handled with a lot of patience and with some intelligence. It needs to be handled.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Always, generally, if the wife can somehow, if the husband is materialistic, if the wife can somehow demonstrate to him that he is a very important person in her life, and she is still dependent on him, and she respects him, then that could be a good way to solve the problem in most of the cases. I'm not saying that in all cases it solves the problem, but in most of the cases that could be a good way to solve the problem. But it requires a lot of patience on the part of the woman to have that kind of mentality and then go through it. Sometimes modern women don't have patience, and nor do they have that inclination, because and also sometimes Kanishta mentality makes it also a little bit difficult, because when there is Kanishta mentality, there is also this tendency to look down upon people, not to carry them along with them. This kind of conflicts are there. Anyway, specific case needs specific looking into. Okay, let's go on. So Devavati heard whatever Kardama said, but at the same time she did not hear because her heart was somewhere else. She was smiling bashfully, and her mind, her consciousness was placed somewhere else. Therefore, even though she heard the good counsel given by her husband, she could not accept it. Not accept it. Okay, please read.
Devuti's husband was so expert in the transcendental science that there was nothing for him to argue about. And when she heard him speak, she was confident that since he was very much advanced in devotional service, he had already surpassed all transcendental educational activities. She had no doubt about the gifts offered by her husband.
She knew her husband was great, but she had something else in mind. So
in that
she
purport,
said, yeah.
in that purport, it is written that she was overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and therefore she could not reply. Means, next page. Here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
she was
it
ordered to
seems like
sacrifice for
Prabhupada
her
is putting
husband.
it. Sorry. It seems like
Yeah.
Prabhupada is trying to put it on the front that she accepted the divine gift, and then she is looking for a gift on the social front where she wants a child and all that.
Now you will see, if when you go further, you will see. Because there's a specific instruction which Kardama gave. The specific instruction that Kardama gave was that if you accept this gift, you will be free from fear and lamentation. So, in the end of the chapter, she becomes victim of the same fear and lamentation. So, the whole title of the chapter is Devavati's lamentation. So, she knew that her husband was exalted, and she was overcome with ecstasy out of love for her husband. And also, she is going to reveal something very intimate to her husband, which is normally a wife would not, a woman would not speak in such a language to a man. So she is going to open her heart to her husband. Therefore, she was also bashful because she is going to speak something quite intimate. She is going to speak about what she actually desires. So one side there was this realization that her husband is great, but the other side there was her own desire. So then she is between these two things. As we go forward, it will become clear.
But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill. Since children are a great quality for a chaste woman who has a glorious husband.
So she says that I know that you have achieved perfection and you are the master of infallible mystic powers because you are under the protection of Yoga Maya and the transcendental nature. But, so she puts a but. Then she says that I am actually looking for something which is important for me.
The symptom of this is Krishna consciousness, constant engagement in devotional service. This was known to Devati, yet she was anxious to have a son by bodily union with the sage. She reminded him that for a chaste woman to have a child by a great personality is most glorious. She wanted to be pregnant and she prayed for that. The word stri means expansion. By bodily union of the husband and wife, their qualities are expanded. Children born of good parents are expansions of the parents' personal qualifications. For a woman, it is a great ambition to have a son of the same quality as a highly qualified husband. Since she had the opportunity to have Kardamoni as her husband, she also desired to have a child by bodily union.
So she expressed her desire that I wanted to have a child by body. So she said that, my lord, I am struck by excited emotions for you. Therefore, may kindly what arrangements must be made in accordance to the scripture, so that my skinny body, emaciated through unsatisfied passion, may be rendered fit for you. Oh, also, my lord, please think of a suitable house for the purpose. So, by such statements of Devahuti, it becomes clear that she was actually looking in a proper way. It's not wrong and Prabhu also makes it clear that it is glorious for a chaste woman to have children from a qualified husband, and also having the children actually is an expansion of the good qualities of the husband and wife. So naturally, she was looking forward for that union. Okay, please read the Bible.
The Vedic literatures are not only full of spiritual instruction, but are also instructive in how to prosecute material existence very nicely with the ultimate aim of spiritual perfection. Sex life is actually meant for having good children. The circumstances for creating good children are mentioned in the Kama Shastra, the scripture in which suitable arrangements are prescribed for factually glorious sex life. Everything needed is mentioned in the scriptures. What sort of house and decorations there should be, what sort of dress the wife should have, how she should be decorated with ointment, scents, and other attractive features, etc. With these requisites fulfilled, the husband will be attracted by her beauty and favorable mental situation will be created. The mental situation at the time of sex life may then be transferred into the womb of wife, and good children can come out of that pregnancy. Sexual intercourse in which the husband is attracted to the wife is sure to produce a male child, but sexual intercourse based on the attraction of the wife for the husband may produce a girl. That is mentioned in the Ayurveda. When the passion of the woman is greater, there is a chance of girls being born. When the passion of the man is greater, then there is a possibility of a son. She wanted him to instruct her in that way, and she also requested that he arrange for a suitable house because the hermitage in which Kardama Muni was living was very simple and completely in the mode of goodness, and there was less possibility of passions being aroused in his heart.
So this way, she made her request, and then Kardama actually produced a mason which could travel. He actually arranged for Devahuti to become so wonderful. So all these descriptions are there, and Prabhupada actually makes some purports where it is okay. Please read.
If the Supreme Personality of Godhead can create so many planets carrying millions of castles in the air, a perfect yogi like Kardamani can easily construct one castle in the air. The castle is described as Sarva Kama Dugam, yielding whatever one decides.
So this nice castle was made. Okay, please.
We sometimes hear of castles thus bedecked on the surface of this earth also. The castles constructed by Lord Krishna for his 16,108 wives were so bedecked with jewels that there was no need of lamplight during the night.
So it was a very fantastic castle. You can read the description of the castle in your own time. So many nice things were there in the castle, which was just meant for nice sense enjoyment. And it had 7 stories. There's a 7-story castle. It was not even a single story castle. There's a 7-story castle created like that. and everything was so nice and fine in that. So all these big descriptions are there of gold, diamond, sapphire, whatever is the pinnacle of material opulence that was there in these castles. So then there are so many different type of living entities which are there. Okay, please read. Okay, take it to the
That is the way of a God-gifted person. A devotee like Karda Muni exhibited such opulence by his yogic power that the request of his wife, but when the opulence was produced, he himself could not understand how such manifestations could be possible. When a yogi's power is exhibited, the yogi himself is sometimes astonished.
So he himself was not expecting that he could actually do such a kind of thing. But what came out was much beyond his expectation. So, first of all, Devahuti experienced fear because all these days she was thinking that my husband is a sage. This fellow is sitting in a small kutir, and he is very simple person, and I am princess. I have so much opulence, and I am living with him in a very simple manner. All these things she was thinking. But when Kardama produced this flying city out of his yogic perfection, she herself was bewildered by that opulence which she saw and her husband's fantastic power which she saw. So the first thing she experienced was fear because she thought, "Oh, this is too much opulent for me. How will I fit here?" Because she saw herself as being very very emaciated due to whatever austerities she has gone through. 1 minute. So naturally she was afraid of all this opulence which was displayed by her husband. So seeing that Devahuti was very much afraid of this situation which has been created now, so therefore Kardama that told her to go and bathe in the Bindusarovar lake, and then she went into the lake, and then there was more surprise waiting for her in that lake. So she went into the lake, she took bath, and then as she took bath, she was attended by so many maid servants who are all well qualified. Then they nicely prepared her body very nicely by giving her a good bath, and they cover her with nice cloths. Okay. Please read.
Asavam is an Ayurvedic medical preparation. It is not a liquor.
So she was given some good medical drink, which actually caused some sort of inebriation. And then she was she came up with various things. Okay, this is for women. Is it?
According to the Smriti Shastra's directions for daily duties, ladies are allowed to bathe daily up to the neck. The hair on the head does not necessarily have to be washed daily because the mass of wet hair may cause a cold. For ladies, therefore, taking a bath up to the neck is ordinarily prescribed, and they take a full bath only on certain occasions. On this occasion, Devavati took a full bath and washed her hair very nicely. When a lady takes an ordinary bath, it is called malasnana, and when she takes a full bath, including the head, it is called shirasnana. At this time, she needs sufficient oil to smear on her head. That is the direction of the commentators of Smriti Shastra.
So we also get instruction as how the ladies should take bath, what is practical for them, and how they should take bath, etc. Okay. Then she put on a lot of jewelry. Her hair was made up. She went through the whole makeup. And then she was fit to be presented in front of her husband. And she came in front of her husband, the great sage Kardama. So that Kardama took her in the aerial mansion. Okay, please read.
The real beauty of a young woman is her breasts. When Kardamamuni saw the breasts of his wife so nicely decorated, increasing her beauty many times, he was attracted, even though he was a great sage. Sripa Sankaracharya has therefore warned the transcendentalists that one who is after transcendental realization should not be attracted by the raised breasts of a woman, because they are nothing but an interaction of fat and blood within the body.
Yeah, therefore, those who are brahmacharis, they should not look at the form of a woman in a very scrutinizing manner, especially one's face, one's breast. These things they should never look at. When Lakshmana was serving Mother Sita, and later when the different Vanaras, they showed the different jewelry of Lakshmana, of Sita, which she had thrown on the Rishyamukha hills of the forest. Then Lord Ram was identifying all those jewelry, saying that this is good, this is my wife's jewel, my wife's jewel. And when he was asking Lakshmana Lakshmana said that he could identify the jewelry in Sita's feet because he never looked at Sita other than her feet. He always looked at her lotus feet. He never looked at her scrutinizingly, any other part of her body scrutinizingly. So he was able to identify the jewelry in her feet. So it's a good instruction that we should not only brahmacharis, even grahasthas, a man should not look at the bodily features of another woman very scrutinizingly. It's not their business to do that. They should keep distance, and they should not look at a woman in a very detailed manner. Okay. Please read.
The mansion was in the sky, and therefore the comparison to the full moon and the stars is very beautifully composed in this verse. Kardama Muni looked like a full moon, and the girls who surrounded his wife, Devahuti, seemed just like the stars. On a full moon night, the stars and the moon together form a beautiful constellation. Similarly, in that aerial mansion in the sky, Kardama Muni with his beautiful wife and the damsels surrounding them appeared like the moon and stars on the full moon night. It is said that Indra is in the charge of eastern side of the universe, where the heavenly planet or a paradise is situated. Similarly, Agni is in charge of the southern portion of the universe. Yama, the demigod who punishes sinners, is in the charge of southern portion. Niritti is in the charge of southern western part of the universe. Varuna is the demigod in the charge of the waters, is in charge of western portion. Vayu, who controls the air and who has wings to travel in the air, is in charge of the northwestern part of the universe. And the Kuvera, the treasure of the demigods, is in charge of northern part of the universe.
These are the directional deities. Okay.
Kardama Muni was sexually stimulated and he enjoyed his wife for many, many years in that part of Mount Meru. But his sex indulgence was praised by many, many siddhas, being who have attained perfection, because it was intended to produce good progeny for the good of universal affairs.
So he traveled all over the place. He went to all 14 planetary systems, the best of places. Okay.
In the modern age, man is trying to go to other planets, but so far he has been unsuccessful. It is not possible to travel to any other planets because by the laws of nature, even the demigods cannot move from one planet to another. But Kardama Muni by his yogic power could surpass the strength of the demigods and travel in space in all directions. The comparison here is very suitable. The words yatha anilaha indicate that as the air is free to move anywhere without restriction, so Kardama Muni unrestrictedly travelled in all directions of the universe.
The words Air Ashrita Tirthapadas Charana are significant. Here, the Supreme Personality of therefore, nothing is impossible for any living entity who has taken shelter of the holy lotus feet of the Lord. Kardama Muni is special not because he was a great mystic, but because he was a great devotee. Therefore, it is said here that for a great devotee like Kardama Muni, nothing is impossible.
So after having this long tour, then finally he returned to his own hermitage.
This indicates that the different planets are distributed all over the universe in the 8 directions, and each and every one of them is wonderful in itself. Each planet has its particular climatic influences and particular types of inhabitants and is completely equipped with everything, including the beauty of the seasons. One cannot become a perfect yogi simply by showing some sitting postures, nor by such sitting postures or so called meditation can one become God, as is being advertised. Foolish persons are misled into believing that simply by some caricature of meditation and sitting postures one can become God. Within 6 months. By the actions of Kardam Muni, we can understand that in spite of his immense mystic power, he remained a devotee of the Lord. That is the real position of every living entity.
Yeah, so Kardama Muni, even though he was going through so many things, and he was, it looked as if he had actually been enamored by his sex life. It is mentioned that he's actually a great soul. So after coming back, so he divided into 9 personalities, and then he enjoyed with his wife. Okay.
Instead of one, he became 9, and 9 persons had sexual intercourse with Devavati for many, many years. It is understood that the sexual appetite of a woman is 9 times greater than that of a man. That is clearly indicated here. Otherwise, Kardam Muni would have had no reason to expand himself into 9. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead can expand himself into millions of forms, a yogi can also expand up to 9 forms, but not more than that. Another example is that of the Saubhari Muni. He also expanded himself into 8 forms. But however powerful a yogi may be, he cannot expand himself into more than 8 or 9 forms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, can expand himself into millions of forms. Ananta Rupa, innumerable countless forms, as stated in the Brahma Samhita. No one can compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by any conceivable energetic manifestation of power.
Yeah, so the expansions of the Lord in Bhagavatam are explained as Sarasagasu Sagasasana. Just like there are unlimited waves in the lake. So same way, there are unlimited expansions of the Lord. Avataraki Asankyeya, Hare Satvanide Dvijaha. It said that there are innumerable expansions of the Lord. But here, Kardama being a great yogi, he was able to expand himself into 9 forms. Of course, Prabhu also mentions that the woman's tendency to enjoy is more. That is because of the constitutional nature of the woman's body. It's not a defect. It's just the constitutional nature of the woman's body that she's like that. Because unless the female body is like that, the female body will not be able to go through the pain of growing a child in the womb and delivering the child, and then again and again go through it, because there is this constitutional nature to enjoy. So therefore, that nature to enjoy, it actually gives the strength, or it gives the impetus for the woman to conceive, to hold the child in the womb, in their womb, and then after to go through the pain of birth, and again be ready to go through that process again. So it's not a defect. It's the nature of the woman's body, which is meant for giving her the ability to deliver the child. So that's therefore it is there like that. Sometimes modern women misunderstand these things. Prabhupada is not he's not berating women, or he's not looking at women as inferior, or in that sense of being inferior, things like that. Because what Prabhupada did to women in terms of empowering them in Krishna consciousness, no Acharya has done previously. And so much he has done. So therefore, those who experienced him as his disciples, they never had this misconception that actually Prabhupada is considering them as inferior, or Prabhupada is berating them, or Prabhupada is putting them down, and things like that. Some things are facts, and Prabhupada states them as facts because they are there for a particular function. The male feeling superior, the female being inferior. These things are there for a particular function. They are there for facilitating material life. But he needs to mute. Ranachor, Prabhu. Okay. So they are there for a particular function. They are there for the arrangement of material life to go through in a certain manner. So these are not some statements which are made out of envy, or these are not some statements which come out of exploitative nature or things like that. They are just some statements of fact, and they should as such be treated like that. It should not be treated that, oh, these are statements of partiality or patriarchy or whatever the common jargons which are used in the modern terms. These are not of that nature. A lot of time passed, long time passed in their relationship. So then Kardama actually impregnated Devahuti. And then, therefore, out of that relationship between Kardama and Devahuti, Devahuti was able to, the same day, Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, all of them charming, fragrant with the scent of red lotus flower. So same day, she was having 9 daughters. It was not like a long pregnancy. He impregnated her, and then same day, she had 9 daughters. Okay. Please read the purport.
Same day means they were born together, or same day means the day of conception itself they were born?
It looks like the day of conception. Let's read the purport. It looks like the day of conception itself they were born.
Devahuti was too sexually excited, and therefore she discharged more ova, and 9 daughters were born. It is said in the Smriti Shastra as well as in the Ayurveda that when the discharge of the male is greater, male children are begotten. But when the discharge of the female is greater, female children are begotten. It appears from the circumstances that Devahuti was more sexually excited, and therefore she had 9 daughters at once.
So then Kardama actually, he wanted to leave. So when Kardama wanted to leave, then Devahuti, she smiled externally, but her heart was agitated. She was distressed. She is now feeling the next aspect of material life, which is lamentation. So the initial aspect of material life was felt in the beginning, before she could actually enjoy her material life or her desire to have union with her husband. When she saw the unlimited opulence exhibited by her husband, which was far more than the opulence she had experienced, she actually experienced fear. So that was the experience of fear. Now she's going to experience lamentation. Okay.
Seeing her husband about to leave, Devahuti was very disturbed, but to satisfy her husband, she was smiling. The example of Kardama Muni should be understood very clearly. A person whose main concern is Krishna consciousness, even if he is entrapped in household life, should always be ready to leave household enticement as soon as possible.
So this is the situation that all the Grasa devotees, they should take this to heart. They should not think that, oh, household life is forever, we can keep on enjoying household life. They should not think that. As soon as the business of household life is finished, then we should be ready to move to Vanaprastha, ready to finish off this business of household life. So she was typically exhibiting all the symptoms of a woman in distress. Bhagavatam sketches her body language very nicely. She stood, scratched the ground with her foot, with a radiant luster of gem-like nails, her head bent down. She spoke in slow yet charming accent, suppressing her tears. This is a typical body language of a woman who is distressed and who is seeking attention from a man. It's a very typical body language. So, okay, she spoke. Okay.
When a woman scratches the ground with her foot, it is a sign that her mind is very disturbed. These signs were sometimes exhibited by the gopis before Krishna. When the gopis came in the dead of night and Krishna asked them to return to their homes, the gopis also scratched the ground like this because their minds were very disturbed.
Okay, so now Devavati is going to speak.
Yet because I am your surrendered soul, you should give me fearlessness too.
So she said, my Lord, you have fulfilled all the promises you gave me. Yet because I am your surrendered soul, you should give me fearlessness too. You see, this is what Kardama wanted to give her originally. So that time, she was not willing to take. That's why I was saying that when some devotee was pointing out, she was saying that she accepted the transcendental gifts, and then she wanted also to have children. That was what she was saying. I was saying, no, let's go through and we'll see. Specifically, she is now asking for fearlessness because she understood that she had asked for some, she was willing to do something, and she was not ready to take it at that time. But now time has come for her where she herself is realizing that that's what she actually needs. Okay, please read.
It is the duty of the superior to give fearlessness to the subordinate. To take charge of someone, therefore, either as father, mother, spiritual master, relative, or husband, one must accept the responsibility to give his word, freedom from the fearful situation of material existence.
So Prabhupada is saying here, you have given me all sorts of material comfort to your yogic power, but since you are prepared to go away, you must give me your last award, which is that I may get free from this material condition of life. So that constitutes fearlessness. So that's what she is asking, and I want this. So every disciple should seek this gift of fearlessness from the spiritual master. The spiritual master is competent in giving this gift of fearlessness to the disciple. So the disciple should request the spiritual master, should seek from the spiritual master this gift of fearlessness. When still there is opportunity from the spiritual master to seek his mercy and to get this gift of fearlessness. So then she understood that everybody will go away. Now she is saying, my dear Brahmana, your daughters are concerned, they will find their own suitable husband, they will go away with respective homes. Who will give me solace after your departure as a sannyasi? So she understands this. She is alone. And everybody will go, daughters will go, husband will go, and she will be left alone. Okay. Please read.
It is said that the father himself becomes the son in another form. The father and the son are therefore considered to be non-different. A widow who has her son is actually not a widow because she has the representative of her husband. A householder is not expected to remain at home for all his days. After getting his sons and daughters married, a householder can retire from household life, leaving his wife in charge of the grown-up sons. That is the social convention of the Vedic system. Devahuti is indirectly asking that in his absence from home, there be at least one male child to give her relief from her anxieties. This relief means spiritual instruction. Relief does not mean material comforts. Material comforts will end with the end of the body, but spiritual instructions will not end. It will go on with the spirit soul. Instruction in spiritual advancement is necessary. But without having a worthy son, how could Devahuti advance in spiritual knowledge? It is the duty of the husband to liquidate his debt to his wife. The wife gives her sincere service to the husband, and he becomes indebted to her because one cannot accept service from his subordinate without giving him something in exchange. The spiritual master cannot accept service from his disciple without awarding him spiritual instructions. That is the reciprocation of love and duty. Indirectly, Devahuti requests her husband to remain at home for a few days more, or at least until a male child is born.
So here Prabhupada actually says that spiritual master cannot accept service from a disciple without awarding spiritual instructions, and that is the reciprocation of love and duty. So that is the duty of the spiritual master, to give spiritual instructions to the disciple. The duty of the spiritual disciple is to actually accept the spiritual instructions, and that's what is the cause of Devahuti's lamentation. It's not that Kardama was not competent. It's not that Kardama was not willing to give fearlessness. It is not that the Kardama was not willing to actually make her free from lamentation, but she was not willing. Kardama wanted to give that very same thing to her, but she was not willing. She actually wanted something else from the husband. And now, having gone through that experience, now she is actually realizing that that she was not, she actually miscalculated everything. So until now, we have simply wasted so much of our time in sense gratification, neglecting the cultivate knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Take the purpose.
Human life is not meant to be wasted like that of the animals in sense gratificatory activities. So, in effect, Devahuti said to her husband, "So far we have these daughters, and we have enjoyed material life in the aerial mansion, traveling all over the universe. These boons have come to by your grace, but they have all been for sense gratification. Now there must be something for my spiritual advancement."
Yeah. So when the spiritual master is competent, but if the disciple is not sincere, in the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple may actually satisfy whatever he needs for sense gratification, but he may not be able to take full advantage of the presence of the spiritual master. That's what Devahuti is realizing now. That yes, she had association of a great husband, but that association of the great husband has been simply utilized for fulfilling her desires of sense gratification. Sometimes we see that devotees join the Krishna conscious movement. They join with good intention, but because they are carried away by their desires for sense gratification, even though they are in the spiritual movement, which is the most powerful movement which can deliver love of Godhead in this Kali Yuga, even though they are fortunate to be recipients of Mahaprabhu's mercy, even though they are fortunate to be followers of Srila Prabhupada and the glorious previous acharyas, even though they have a competent spiritual master, they do not develop this burning desire to go back home, back to Godhead, or to perfect their life in one lifetime. They don't have that burning desire. They're simply distracted by the mechanics of living in this material world. They don't think seriously that I have this opportunity. This opportunity is unprecedented. So this opportunity can deliver love of Godhead to me. So I should simply focus myself on that. They do not think like that. They get so distracted by so many things. The ordinary dealings of the material world distracts them so much. And then they give so much importance to the ordinary dealings of the material world. And then sometimes they get upset, sometimes they get discouraged, sometimes they are encouraged, sometimes they are running, sometimes they are sleeping, sometimes they are lazy, sometimes they are enthusiastic. Simply because they are enamored by the ordinary dealings of this material world. Or they get carried away by the institutional dealings. Oh, this fellow is favoring this fellow, there's some politics here, there's some politics there, this is not right, this is not good, this is not fair, this is unfair. They get just sucked into these kind of debates and discussions and fairness and unfairness and that and this and all these peripheral things, without understanding the value of the association they have received. That's exactly the cause of Devuti's lamentation. That simply she got enamored by the peripherals of the relationship without actually understanding the value of the association she has received. And then Kardama puts her in such a situation that she is forced to think that what she has done to herself, simply out of his causeless mercy, he puts her in that situation where she is forced to think. So, not knowing your transcendental situation, I have loved you while remaining attached to the object of senses. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all fears. Very, very intelligent woman. Very intelligent woman. And the way she actually analyzes her own situation and she presents herself to Kardama is very praiseworthy. And that sincerity is required for a disciple in order to attract the mercy of the spiritual master. Even if the disciple gets carried away by the incidentals of this material world, when there is opportunity, like this chapter in Bhagavatam, is a perfect opportunity for a disciple to actually deliberate on his motives, which actually drives him in Krishna consciousness. A perfect opportunity. In the pretext of discussing the relationship between Kardama and Devavati, Bhagavatam is asking questions to our own self. That where are you, my dear? What are you doing? What is driving you in Krishna consciousness? Are you serious? Do you want fearlessness? Do you want to be free from lamentation? Are you utilizing the association of this great movement which has been inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya to give love of Godhead to the fallen souls? Are you putting yourself as a candidate? Are we realizing what is our good fortune and what is our misfortune? Bhagavatam is giving us opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity for introspection. Devavati is introspecting. She is introspecting on behalf of all the disciples who have a competent spiritual master, who can deliver love of Godhead, who can actually make the disciple free of lamentation and fear. And she is speaking for all of them. And she is pleading. She's pleading. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all fears. A significant prayer she actually submits in front of Kardama. Okay, let's see the purport.
Devavati is lamenting her position. As a woman, she had to love someone or other. She came to love Kardama Muni, but without knowing of his spiritual advancement. Generally, all women desire material enjoyment. They are called less intelligent. because they are mostly prone to material enjoyment. Devhuti laments because her husband had given her the best kind of material enjoyment, but she did not know that he was so advanced in spiritual realization. Her plea was that even though she did not know the glories of her husband, because she had taken shelter of him, she must be delivered from material entanglement. Association with a great personality is most important. As a woman, as an ordinary wife, Devhuti became attached to Kardamuni in order to satisfy her sense enjoyment and other material necessities. But actually, she associated with a great personality. Now she understood this and she wanted to utilize the advantage of the association of her great husband.
So we should realize this, that we have an advantage of association with the great acharyas. We should realize this, that we have an advantage of the association. And therefore, we should utilize this association properly. Association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage. But the same type of association performed with a saintly person leads to path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. So that's the first thing she says. But yes, I was attached to you. I did not have knowledge of your greatness. I was thinking, okay, you are enjoying, I am enjoying, I am enjoying, we are enjoying. So both of us are enjoying, and both of us are in the same boat. But now you are saying I am going away. So that's not expected. Because I was thinking, oh, you are such an attached husband. Because you have enjoyed so much with me, that I am convinced that, okay, you are so attached to me. But Kardama simply said, okay, now I am going. So we may be very casual in our spiritual life. We may be doing various things. We may be thinking, okay, this is all happening. Okay, spiritual master is there, I am there. I'm doing something, there's some service is going on, something I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm taking some responsibility, I'm doing this service here, this service there. But one day, spiritual master, his Vapu association will be finished. The advantage of that association, of his physical association, will one day not be there. So when it is there, one should get transcendental instructions from him. That is the duty of a disciple. That he should utilize the presence of the spiritual master, the physical presence of the spiritual master, to get transcendental instructions from the spiritual master. You should sincerely do it. Sincerely do it. Okay, please read.
For example, Lord Krishna met many kinds of living entities, and some treated them as an enemy, and some treated him as an agent for sense gratification. It is generally said that the gopis were attached to Krishna for sense attractions, and yet they become first-class devotees of the Lord. Kamsa, Sisupal, Dantavakra and other demons, however, were related to Krishna as enemies. But whether they are associated with Krishna as enemies or for sense gratification, out of fear or as pure devotees, they all got liberation. That is the result of association with the Lord. Even if one does not understand who he is, the results have the same efficacy. Association with a great saintly person also results in liberation. Just as whether one goes forward towards fire knowingly or unknowingly, the fire will make one warm. Devhuti expressed her gratefulness, for although she wanted to associate with Kardamuni only for sense gratification, because she was spiritually great, she was sure to be liberated by his benediction.
Of this very famous sloga, where Devhuti speaks that what is the purpose of prescribed duty. and how everything should ultimately lead to bhakti. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performance do not raise him to renunciation, anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead to devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although he is breathing. This is a conclusion. This is a conclusion. The great lady, the daughter of Swayambhu Manu, Devagati, she made some strong conclusion out of her own experience. She understood the life which she enjoyed so much, or which she was thinking that she's enjoying so much, simply dead life. Simply dead life. Because that life did not raise her, or she did not utilize that time to raise herself to the platform of devotional service. So the same thing, if we do not utilize our long association with this movement to sincerely raise ourselves to the platform of devotional service, it's just dead life. Dead life. That's why sometimes I get concerned when devotees start thinking that, okay, advancement in Krishna consciousness is theoretical, coming to mode of goodness is theoretical, all these things we know is all there, but as long as we are doing what we are doing, we are all right. When that mentality sets in, that it's all right as long as we are doing what we are doing, is very, it's not very conducive to advancement in Krishna consciousness. One should never think that the first principles of advancement in Krishna consciousness are theoretical. And one should never get satisfied with whatever position one is in Krishna consciousness as a sadhaka. One should never get satisfied in that position. Nor one should try to justify the position which they are in. This is all not conducive for advancement in Krishna consciousness. One should be truthful. Just like Devagati, she is truthful about her unfortunate situation. Very truthful. So therefore, that's the first thing, that one should become truthful in recognizing their position. That having the facility of this International Society of Krishna Consciousness, what I have done to myself,
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we are not able to hear you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you were speaking, having coming to ISKCON, what have we done to ourselves? What have I done to myself? After that, it got lost. Signal got lost. Prabhu, your voice is not coming.
It seems that internet dropped out by
How-
itself somehow. I don't know what happened.
Yes, please.
Anyway, it's also time. It's also time up. So we'll stop here. There are a few more shlokas to discuss in this chapter, and then this next chapter. So we will actually continue tomorrow, 10 o'clock. When we finish this chapter, then I'll also give some time for question answers, and then we'll hopefully finish the next chapter tomorrow. That will be the end of the unit. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada.
Jai.
Recording stopped.